Return on investment is something that business owners use when they are budgeting or about to spend money on any aspects of their business. And with content and content marketing, it's no different. So although content marketing, there's all sorts of formulas that you can use to calculate what that return is going to be specifically for a piece of content. And without getting into math equations, I just want to talk about two areas that are fairly straightforward on the face of it, and you'll get to understand in a 5-minute video. So two of the points that I want to talk about. One, think of your content as being a salesperson out there talking about your company on your behalf. The other is data. Once you've created content and put it out there, you're going to get data back. And that data can be used either for creating more content and learning from that, and it can be used in how you look at your business online. What's working for your business? What are people attracted to? Let's look at that content as a salesperson. Take the content that you've created or want to create and think of it in terms of sales. Think of it in terms of a salesperson out there representing your business. They're not going to sleep, they're not going to eat, they're just going to be out there no matter what time of day, somebody's going to be looking at that piece of content. Consider the salaries or commissions that you would allocate to a staff member working in sales. Think of that now in terms of what you're willing to spend on a piece of content and what that content can do for your business. Again, remember we've spoken about objectives. Have a clear objective in mind and think of that in terms of what the sales end goal is going to be for that content. Some business owners, particularly small business owners, don't have the luxury of a sales force out there selling on behalf of their business. So it's reliant on that person, that business owner, to actually go out there and promote their business. And some people just aren't salespeople. I'm not a salesperson. I feel more comfortable talking to you like this than cold calling or knocking on doors. I can give a presentation quite happily in front of an audience, talk one-on-one, but to actually make that introduction can be quite hard for some people. Think of your content in those simple terms. And as a bonus, if you do have a sales team, they can utilize that content to push out to prospective clients and get interest from information that you're sharing without those people feeling like they're being sold to. If you remember in our content strategy video where we spoke about the reasons for creating content in the first place, the reason for content being valuable is that it's informative and the person that's consuming that content doesn't feel as though they're being sold to. Content done right will establish you and your brand as a thought leader in your industry and cement what your services are for that person. And in terms of your content being that salesperson, your website and your social media shouldn't just be about listing products. It shouldn't be about selling. Have information, 80-20 rule, 80% content, 20% selling. There's no problem with putting your product out there, but give them the information that relates to that product. So if you're on a web page and you're reading this information, then at the bottom have a product that's related to that information that they've just consumed. And from a social media point of view, think of the brands that you might be following. You don't necessarily engage with the ones that push their products and services all the time. The ones that you enjoy are the ones that are giving you information. So with your evergreen content, obviously that's got a long shelf life, as we've spoken about before, and your spend on that is limited to once-off and it can keep on giving. Then when you look at your new content, why are you doing that? You're doing that to attract a new audience and to engage in your existing audience. That's your return on investment. Now, as we go into data as an asset, think about the followers that you have on social media in particular. You can have thousands of followers, but when you put a piece of content out there, and if only one person likes or shares it, and that's the totality of your engagement, then consider that your follower numbers hasn't got any value for your business. You need to be getting engagement from that audience. One of the statements that I'll repeat often is think of your content as generating assets for your business. Once you've created that piece of content, it is an asset, especially if it's an evergreen piece of content. Now, when you put it out online, you're going to start getting data back immediately. And think of that data as a currency. You now have information that you can use for your business. If you see what people are viewing on your website in terms of your product offering or service offering, that's going to inform what is of interest to people that are coming there. And then your social media, if people are sharing certain things, why are they sharing that? Who's sharing that? What's the demographic? And as I've mentioned before, you don't have to be a data analyst to understand what that data represents. There are certain metrics that stand out, which I'll cover, and those are the things that you can keep an eye on as a business owner. So from a website point of view, think of the top 4. There is returning visitors, how many people that have been to your site are coming back. Then time on site, how long they are on average sitting on your website. Then bounce rate, how quickly are people exiting your website. And finally, number of sessions, because one person can rack up a whole lot of page views in one session. And it's valuable to know that rather than number of page impressions. And in terms of social media and those metrics, followers is great, but it's the engagements. It's the likes, shares, and comments that has value. From that, you then get to see the demographics on your social media data versus what's on your website. So those are 2 really simple ROI, return on investments, for you to be encouraged to go out there and create content for your business. If you've got any questions, comment below. We'll get back to you. Otherwise, visit our website. We've got a ton of information on there that you can use, and watch our YouTube videos. Subscribe to our YouTube channel.